part of my motivation was understanding that it was this was Sri Chinmayananda's project, and I coincidentally in the small world studied with him in 1974 in California.
Wow.
So he introduced me to the Bhagavad Gita.
Really?
Which I think
that's a great thing.
It was a great blessing for me, certainly. And when I came here and I saw the work that was going on, I was so impressed to see a project like this. And then you and I wound up on the airplane flying back down to Delhi.
Yeah.
And so we had a chance to talk more, and I was just so taken by the nature of the work that you do, the sacrifices that you've made, and the tremendous impact on the village. So I've been trying to get students back here to meet you for a number of years since we started coming to India. So finally we did it. And I want to thank you for taking time. And we've been shown around, your fabulous staff here. So thank you all for everything you've done for us so far. So I'm going to have one of the students introduce the group.
Yeah.
And then they have questions.
So again, I'm Zoe, and we are the Mount Madonna senior class in the Values and World Thought program. And in preparation for our trip, we've been learning about Indian culture and learning about the villages. So we're very, very grateful to get the chance to talk to you and learn more about your work. So thank you very much for that. And we have a list of questions prepared, but before we begin, if you have any opening remarks or any projects that you're currently working on, we would love to hear them.
That's a big question. Currently working, okay. I'll tell you the one I'm most excited about. It's with women farmers all over the world, and especially in the mountainous regions. It's the women who do most of the farming. 80% almost of the farming work. But when you look at farmers or you think of a farmer, think of a gentleman, not a lady. Okay, so this work on women farmers just began with focus. We've been working with them for many years, but with focus and with the government of India to recognize women farmers, to organize them into groups at the village level and at the level of governance in a village called the Panchayat, and then get them to become an institution by themselves. Train them to increase their production. They're very, very marginal farmers. You actually pick up the poorest of the poor. And we are working with them, and 1 year of this focus work has been very fulfilling. We took about 597 last year. Now we're going to take another 1,000 women. And next year another 1,000 women. And this is a pilot project for the state, the Himachal Pradesh state. In fact, the state wanted us to cover a larger area, almost take up the whole state. We refused because there's so much to learn.
And CORD attributes much of its work to the vision and inspiration of Swami Chinmayananda. Could you speak about how he has influenced your personal path?
Thank you for this nice, good, beautiful question. Okay. See, when we were young, like you, in college, we had two questions. Who are you? Who are you? Where did you come from? You're born, you'll go, and life finished. So, who are you? And what is love? So we went round and round and round and round, not agreeing. Would have debates till very late. Sometimes walk to a morning class without having slept. Unfortunately, we did not know about Vedanta, the science of the self within. And many, many years later, 85, perchance, I didn't want to meet, but it was the Lord's grace. I met my master, Swami Chinmayananda. As soon as I saw him, and someone there was a French lady who asked him, how do I manage my children and my husband? I get so angry with them. So I just was there, it was my first visit, and I heard him answer, and I knew, my God, I do need to be there with him. So they told me he was coming here to Sidhbari. I didn't know what Sidhbari, where Sidhbari was. I was in Delhi those days, but I didn't know, hadn't heard of this place in 1985, 84 actually, end of 84. And they said, oh, Sidhbari is here and he's coming for a spiritual camp here, and that I could come. So I came. And when I came here, at that time, luckily for me, they were planning a maternal and child health service program in collaboration with USAID. And they needed a young doctor. I was not fat like this, and I was thin and very active. So I said, why can't I be that young doctor that you require for running this project? And that's how I came here, because I wanted to be with him. So it started off by my inspiration from him. What we have received from him is limitless. So the greatest gift that each one of us can give each other is happiness, isn't it? And if someone can tell us how and where we get happiness, that's what we all are seeking, whatever we are doing at any moment. And if he can really make you understand and then tell you it's already there within you. It's already there, but you don't know it. So for something that is already there, for which you don't have to create, there is a Sanskrit sloka which says praptasya prapta. What is already there, the only way you get it is through jnanam, through knowledge. Knowledge of what? The self within, the divinity within each one of us and all of us. So, walk the path. And it's available to everyone. It's already there. It's like something, it is already there and I don't know. I'm not aware about it. Like sometimes, I might put my necklace somewhere and then might have worn it back. But I'll go around everywhere, where's my necklace, where's my necklace? It's already there. So someone points out, it's there on your neck. So what is already available, that source of blissfulness, which each one of us is, and out of ignorance we are not aware. So the whole path, you asked me about this path, the whole path is a journey towards itself. It's more adventurous than anything else that you do, because the adventure is with you. you know. And once we become watchful about ourselves, it's great fun. We are the greatest fun about ourselves. There's no one funnier than us. So it's good fun. And that's how I'm here, and all of us are here. And today you all are here by Lord's grace.
Thank you.
Hi.
Aye.
You have said that the main objective of CHORD projects was to initiate the empowerment process for women in the project areas through comprehensive development.
Yes.
What were your biggest issues in empowering women?
In the beginning, the women themselves, because for centuries women have been looked down about. They have had everyone, there's gender discrimination. So people look down about them, so they have a very low self-image. So that's one of the challenges, that you change that self-image about women and let them know what they really are. Because sometimes if the world keeps telling us, you're useless, you're useless, you're useless, we think we're useless. And the second challenge was the men themselves, who thought if women went for a meeting, the kind of meeting that we have for them once a month, they were wasting time. And so they made fun of them. Sometimes some men stopped their ladies to come and join the group. So that was one part of the challenge. And the second part of the challenge, 30 years ago, people in the development field were not so very accepting about the fact that no work can be done without community participation. Why? Why do people have to think for what they have to do? We at the top will guide them and we'll tell them how and where and what they must do. So all programs were very top-down. So changing that top-down approach to bottom-up approach was a challenge, but now it's such a common developmental world that everyone now knows that things are changing so fast. The globe is changing fast. Governments are changing. Every country has one government, then another government. Then there's climate change. There's everything that is going around us very fast. So who is that who's going to respond to what is happening? People themselves. So people have to be put into the center of development. That's very well accepted now. So those were some of the challenges. Carlo?
So you mentioned the importance of a bottom-up approach in tackling poverty and engaging those on the margin to help them transform their own condition. So can you talk a little bit more about this strategy?
Yeah, I would love to talk about it because it's been a passion with us. See, when we say communities have to work, communities have to think, how does one go about it? Only way is to get communities to form their own community-based organizations. The fact that you all are sitting here and we are able to listen to each other's point of view is only because we are together. So it's through community-based organizations of women, men, children, youth. Get together once a month for an hour or two, talk about your issues and look at possible solutions and see how each one can help the other and how maybe CHORD could help them and maybe how the government could help them. So many people don't know what's going around. So to build up their capacities to know, network and leverage whatever is available at that point and place, because nowhere in the world it's a vacuum. There's something happening all the time. To know what is happening and then leverage them through community-based organizations. And once communities come together, the problem is never isolated. Never isolated. So anyway, the whole program starts getting integrated. That's why we call it comprehensive. It's integrated. Someone may have an issue of poverty, another one will have an issue of an alcoholic husband, social injustice. A third one will have something to do with local self-governance. Someone will need a livelihood opportunity. So there's so many things that are happening all the time. And one needs to work with every issue together and separately, again together. So programs converge at the community group, again diverge, converge, diverge, through community-based organization. So that they participate. We have 4 principles. Active participation by the community itself. Integration, because nothing is in isolation. Networking, there's a lot happening around you, so network and get things done. And sustainability from the very first steps. Every time think of sustainability, long term. Don't look at short term, only short term solutions. Concentration and focus should be at long term. Sustainability. 4 principles.
My name is Cassie. We recently visited a rural village near Muditaa School where we learned about the many healthcare problems that arise from the villagers neglecting proper medicine due to superstitions. How do you navigate around cultural beliefs such as these that are detrimental to the well-being of those practicing them?
Good. Kathleen. The only way we get around superstition, blind faith, is to showcase it to them again, to the groups where it is happening. And we did that through a lot of skits, plays, interesting songs, so that the community would get engaged while performing that. And as much as I know that of course it's superstition or faith, make them through their acting and their performance understand, oh my God, it's just superstition. But it requires a lot of interaction with the community. It doesn't happen in a day. Because those beliefs are very deeply rooted. So it doesn't happen very fast.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Tobin. Last year we interviewed Elise Nelson, who is the president of Vital Voices, which is an organization that works on issues of trafficking and violence against women. When we asked her what the next step in empowering women was, she said, the key is bringing men into the conversation. We noticed that CORD is already actively practicing this. What has been key in accomplishing this?
Yeah, I'm glad you talked about Vital Voices. I'm also one of their fellows. And it's great to be in touch with such powerful women of substance. And we do talk about these issues. See, half the women's problem is the men themselves, because the society is men and women. Women are half the problem and men are half the problem. And if the solution is, then the solution is half with the men and half with the women. So we've been trying to engage men. through the Mahila Mandals, we request the women to go and talk to their husbands of what is happening in the meeting. The more they discuss, the more they would know what really is happening. That is one way. Second way is to engage with men directly. Like, there's a lot of violence against women. So we do various programs. This year on the Youth Day, on 12th January, we organized a rally and a big program here on young men's role in protecting women's dignity. And it was very interesting. Because I think a lot of problem of gender issues come from what the society expects another person to be. Like, you know, when you're little and you're a little boy, and why? Boys don't cry. My God, why can't boys cry? Only girls can cry. We all have to cry sometime. And those type of different things. Boys can't cry. Boys must, if you're a man, you drink. And you must smoke. Hey, what are you, a sissy? When you say no to something right. Oh, if you don't have a mustache, how can you be a man? You know, roll it up. Huh? And those kind of things, especially if you want boys to behave differently, emotions are emotions. They get suppressed, and over the years when they grow into youth and to young men and they get married, that all suppression on their wives hit them. And the differences that here, especially in India, I haven't seen much abroad, but I've seen a lot here. Girls must be at home and serve people when you have guests. Boy can go to play. Okay, so those kind of little differences, both boys and girls have to be treated same. Boys must study in a private school if you have little money, and girls can go to any school, doesn't matter. Whether they study or not, doesn't. You know, those kind of approaches. So the youth were very, very open about it, and hopefully we'll get lot of men as sensitive as you. Okay, so you have to involve them. Without involving men, no way that we can remove gender discrimination. And there's a lot of discrimination against men sometimes. Wrongly blamed for something they have not done. They get caught legally. So one needs to know the balance.
Hi, again, my name is Lexi. In your work, what project has most challenged or inspired you?
Let me tell you what inspired me first. The courage of women, their tolerance, their patience inspires me. And what challenges I face? What should I say is the great challenge? Bureaucrats, some of the bureaucrats, not all, who very strongly, or politicians who have a lot of power, think that they know better than the people themselves. That's a big challenge.
Hello, my name is Caitlin. We saw that you received a lot of awards and accolades for the work that you are doing. How does being in the spotlight affect the work at CORD?
Awards, recognitions may come to me directly, but I know I'm only a representative on the behalf of a whole big team that we are receiving an award. So it humbles me, but it definitely gives us a big connection, network, recognition, because all good work needs to be scaled up, replicated, and reached out to many more people, because there are so many people in the world who need support and opportunities in life. So it's good to be recognized that way, because you are able to carry on the work at a larger scale with greater acceptance.
We have heard a lot about the high rate of infanticide in India, specifically with girls. And as someone who works in abolishing discrimination based off of gender, what steps have you seen that have made a positive impact on reducing infanticide?
More than infanticide was common earlier, not so common now, is female feticide, fetus. We've done a lot of affirmative actions now, because there's a deep-rooted male preference. So as family planning comes in, and you can have only 1 or 2 children, families are growing smaller, then they prefer to have boys only, not realizing the greater impact in society. And in came ultrasound, very easy. You can find out and determine the sex of a fetus. If it's a girl about, why let her be? Come into your family. Okay? So it's very difficult, because it's attached to many things in a patriarchal society. Attitudes, misunderstanding, and also social pressures. So I've been working at it for a long time. 2001 census was very bad. 2011 census, some areas we showed a better performance. But once we hadn't worked and were thinking that they were fine, they showed poor performance. So there is a 3-pronged strategy in it that we work through. One is we have to work with the service providers who tell the sex of a child and enforce our laws. Laws are not being enforced very well. There is a very big law against it about telling the sex of a child in India. You can't. But then many people violate that act, so we have to work with them. Second, we have to work with families, people, communities to let them know that both boys and girls are equal. And the third thing that we could do is to make a lot of positive action towards girls. Like there are now many schemes in the government that support a girl child. In any family that has a girl child, especially poor families, there are schemes that support a girl child. So, affirmative actions. But still, we have a long way to go. And we try to tell in the community too, if you ask them, are you practicing this hideous crime? They'll always say, no, never. But then we look at the figures at the village and the panchayat level. If there are more boys under 6 than girls, we know there's something happening. If the ratio is, like suppose I have a panchayat where there are 30 children under 6 and 21, 22 are boys and 8 are only girls. I know there's something happening here, even if they say we don't practice it. So you have to talk and you have to then come out with facts with them. And face them with facts and try to get out where is it being done, how is it being done. And if I get to know, I surely will enforce, because I'm a part of the state level committee and I definitely will take very strict action. But we really come to know.
You talked a little bit about this, and when we were doing our tour around, our guide was talking a little bit about trying to raise awareness about HIV and AIDS and how difficult that is, since those subjects tend to be very taboo. So I was just wondering, with things such as that and family planning, which to my understanding are sort of avoided because they're taboo topics, how do you raise awareness and get around that?
In the beginning, it's always very tough. Whenever we discuss such topics in a new village, we have to be very sensitive. Once they get to know us, you can talk about it. Otherwise, when we were raw, we didn't understand, and we talked those topics with adolescent girls group, the whole village would boycott you. Yeah, we're talking bad things. Those kind of things. But now it's quite freely done, not so difficult.
What is the message you want most to spread in the communities you serve, and what would you like the affluent nations to know?
The message to the community is you have great potential. Wake up and realize it, to offer you the opportunities that you need. So you walk one step, we'll walk 10 steps with you. But you must walk the one step. Otherwise, we won't walk the other steps with you. And the message to affluent nations, consumption and greed would lead to ultimate disaster for all of us on the globe. We need very little to be happy and to be provided with what we need. What we want is very big. What we need is very small. Okay? So, let everyone meet their needs first and drop your greeds. Doesn't help. Doesn't help you even. Because everyone is in greed because of the fact that they think happiness is there. It's not there. Happiness here. And the more you give, the more you let go. I'm not talking only of affluent nation, I'm talking about the rich. Because even in India, we have a big gap between the rich and the poor. So, if I can produce more of something, I must make others also learn how to produce more and let it be distributed. Because if I don't have anything, I can't give you anything. So we do need things in the world, but we don't need it so much as to destroy nature, environment, long-term sustainable issues. Because you know we all are facing it now. But very few of us are willing to give up things to change the way the world works. Just take carbon emissions, for example. If we switch to environmental, ecologically friendly ways of agriculture and farming all over the world, the carbon, instead of getting emitted into the atmosphere and getting such a carbon emission, you will save a lot of carbon by the carbon coming back to Earth, where it becomes available for organic farming, things like that. So we have to think alternatively. There's no way for all of us who have become affluent at the cost of another. But progress should go on. Thinking, scientific, working, that is very beautiful about affluent nature. They should continue that, but always for constructive. Because whatever we discover, it has both sides. Same thing has a very constructive side, it has a very destructive side. Like TV, it's so educative. But if I stick to the TV the whole day, it's destructive, So that kind of thing.
Well, your organization works around family planning, and especially with HIV and AIDS. Does CORD do any work around education about safe sex and birth control?
Oh yeah, we did a lot about it much earlier. Now, family planning is not so much of an issue in this area for us. 30 years ago, of course, we did that night and day. We would go out at night and show movies and talk about big families and the methods of family planning and have big discussions at night, because you can show films and people have time after they have done the day's work and have had their meal to come and listen. So we did that, a lot of campaigning those days. Now we don't need to do.
I have one thing that I wanted to bring into the discussion, partly because of what you said in the beginning. When we were talking to Samdong Rinpoche 2 days ago, one of the things that he brought forward was this notion of the capacity of the individual to transform their own awareness. And that's absolutely at the core of the Chinmaya enterprise. And so this idea of the swadhyaya, self-awareness.
You know a lot because you are Sadanand actually. Yes, please go on.
This swadhyaya process, which is self-study, and satsang, which is bringing that into the community. And so there's something in this where we have the secular world that we're working in, where we're creating awareness about our material existence. And yet there's also this other part, which is that inner transformation. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that.
The outer is because of the inner. The most important thing in this equipment called the body, mind and intellect. This is my equipment, as much as this pen with which I write. But I know this pen is separate from me. Okay, I am not the pen. I know I am not the sari. It gets spoiled, I'll change. Similarly, the body, mind and intellect are instruments for me to perform. And the mind is the most sensitive equipment that I have. Like you look after this equipment, he's so careful about his camera and his lights and everything else, aren't you? You have to look after your equipment very well. But we have an equipment called body, mind, intellect. And the mind is very, very important. We are a little aware about the body. We clean it up every day. Yeah, wash it and, perfume it sometimes and everything else. But mind, we do not mind. Who needs to clean the mind? But mind needs to be cleaned daily. Just as you apply soap to your body, the mind needs a soap too. Clean it. And the best soap, of course, is meditation. And the more we become aware when we meditate and we do other things that are, where people tell us when we are young it's good to do it, but we don't do it, why should I do it? Like parents tell you when you're young, don't tell lies. But sometimes we hear our parents tell lies, we say, oh, why not me? Okay? But we don't know, we are told not to tell lies because the lies affects the mind. It is to protect me rather than anything else, to keep my mind clean. So when we start meditating and start living a good life, a nobler life, our mind becomes more and more purified, clean, focused, subtle, and we become more aware. As awareness in us grows, we become a witness. So much as I and you are looking at each other now, we also begin to be a witness even of our thoughts. Awareness. So I know, my God, I'm getting a little angry with her. The thought anger is arising. Even before it arises, you become so aware that in awareness, in that light of your awareness, the thought of anger goes because you have realized anger is not good for you. Similarly, everything that is negative, I'm upset, I'm worried, I'm anxious. Well, it's in the mind, my God, the mind is anxious, the mind is worried. Let it be, you be in your own self. The self that you are. Consciousness, blissfulness, knowledge, just be. Not be affected. So, the more we become aware of ourselves, the greater we know about the S, the big self within us, which is absolutely pure, clean, divine, and the small little s with the self, which is the ego, when we identify very strongly with what's happening to the body, mind and intellect. So you start differentiating. And as awareness grows, happiness grows. Peace grows within us. Blissfulness grows within us. We don't need things outside to make us happy. We are happy as we are alone, but not lonely. Okay, alone but not lonely. And in a crowd, still happy. So those kind of our own strength, our own inner strength gets awakened, which is there for all of us to access. But we are so absorbed, like he said, in the world outside that we don't know about our world of wealth within. Once I know the wealth within, the wealth outside is all right to get my work done daily, but it's not the thing for me. It's all right. I need some things. But if I don't become the boss, it doesn't really affect. If I'm not the topper, it doesn't affect. Things like that, which we are so bothered about in the world outside. It becomes so competitive. How I look, what I wear, my God, what's happened? I don't think I look good in this crowd. Why should I? I'll be dressed decently. Enough is enough. So if you're strong within yourself, you're confident about yourself because of not anything else, not because you're egoistic, but because of that divinity within your own self, which is there for everyone, is there. We're so ignorant about it. So that's a real beautiful journey. I wish you all of them, you take it. Really take that journey within. We teach people so many things in the world, but we never teach them the most important message. And a child also told me one day, very little, but I was already here, but she didn't know that. She was in her nursery school. When you're in nursery school, your teacher is God. Whatever she says, you have to do. So when she was little, my niece, 2.5 or so, I'd taken a bath and I'd washed my hair and I came out of the bathroom. She said, Auntie, you had a bath, but did you take your mind bath? Did you take your mind bath? I said, my God, what are you telling me, mind bath? I said, how does one take a mind bath? She said, just sit quietly like this for 5 minutes. Just be quiet for 5 minutes. And then that 5 minutes is a mind bath. Okay? So we have to teach ourselves to sit quietly with ourselves for a few minutes, and then little by little we know how to meditate. That's about awareness. Okay? And the best gift you can give to the one whom you love most is this. Because you can let someone know that you are already fine. You're okay. As you are, find yourself, that okayness within. Great message. Any other questions?
All good. I think that the last thoughts, we can spend quite a while on that alone.
Thank you.
That is the journey, isn't it?
Yeah. And whatever we do in life is directed towards it. But we don't know. That's all. We do everything for happiness, but we look for it outside. Only take a U-turn. Okay, so all the best to every one of you.
Let's. I'm curious. Right before we let you go, what have you taken out of this today, Sage?
One thing you talked about in the beginning was how, like, we all desire to be happy, and you were talking about how the happiness is already there, and you just have to find it. And so one thing we've been doing in our values class is we read the Dalai Lama's book, Ethics for the New Millennium, and we've been picking out key themes and having discussions about them. And so one thing that we talked about was finding happiness through the happiness of others, and we thought it was a pretty profound idea, and so we ended up taking it as far as naming our India trip after that idea. We named it the Muditaa Project. And so, it seems to me that you've embodied the idea of Muditaa, that you've found your happiness through helping others and providing a path for them to find their own happiness, and I just think that's a really...
I'll just make a little twist. In helping others, I'm the greatest beneficiary. In helping others, I am the greatest beneficiary. I receive more than I give. We must have that strong conviction in us that we receive much, much more than what we give.
Why is it such a secret? That's the question.
Because we haven't practiced giving with love. Once we give, the right hand must not know the left hand has given. It's given, gone.
I really appreciated you talking about your personal journey and then the journey within, because I think that for a lot of us, we're going into a lot of unknown next year, and I think you summed it up very nicely that the unexpected isn't something to be afraid of, because the important journey is just within ourselves, and that's something that it's completely under our control. So in the future, no matter what challenges are presented, we can have that knowledge that the true journey that will actually change us is within ourselves. So thank you.
Absolutely. Good luck.
I really liked how you talked about the disparity between men and women around growing up and not showing their emotions. Because a lot of the times when you think of domestic violence, you think, oh, the man's the problem and he probably has something wrong with him, or, a bad habit. But it's really something that's perpetuated from a very young age. So that's just a new take on it that I'm glad you brought up.
Thank you.
When you take one step forward, we'll take 10 steps with you. You have to take that one step. And I think that's a lot of what keeps people from doing things, is just taking that first step. And then I think that if you just start, then you'll find the support along the way. I think that's really inspiring what you said.
Thank you. That's it. That's the way Cosmos works.
What a gift. What a gift. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thank you to all of you. And thank you for coming and making me speak these thoughts.